The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene and you're listening to DurianAsean. With me are three speakers. Two of them are from the Rohingya community, and one of it is the organizer from the ASEAN Young Public Servants. So the three speakers will be sharing about the state of Rohingya, both in Myanmar and in Malaysia, and they will be highlighting a recent event where they organize empowerment workshop and training for a bunch of young Rohingya youth leaders in Malaysia. So the three speakers are Ziaur, Rahman, a Rohingya youth leader, Regine, Guevera, project head of the ASEAN Young Public Servants, and Zaid, Hussin, Rohingya youth leader. First of all, I want to say welcome to DurianAsean. How are you guys doing?
Hi.
You guys look so tired. Anyway, I just want to say this is the first time that, or at least as far as I know, is the first time that a regional organization like the ASEAN Young Public Servants is organizing an empowerment workshop for the marginalized community. In this case, we focus on the Rohingya community. I want to ask Regine in this case, like, what triggered you to want to organize an event like this?
This event was actually a product of the World Humanitarian Summit consultations. So the World Humanitarian Summit is a summit organized by Ban Ki-moon, which was a 2-year consultation process about the different natural disasters and conflicts that are happening around the world. And I happen to be the focal point for youth in North and Southeast Asia. So, of course, the Rohingya refugee crisis came up during consultations, and I was tasked to present it to different stakeholders. So I went to Jakarta and then I talked to the ASEAN Secretariat. I was able to speak to the ASEAN Humanitarian Assistance Center and approached several other people. But in the end, as expected, none of the institutions wanted to be involved with the issue, although they expressed perhaps personal support, but they cannot do anything official otherwise. So then what we did was just to gather a group of friends, and we thought that why don't we just do it independently? Like, let's just try to come up with something on a regional level for the Rohingya youth, since we realized that also in the different ASEAN youth programs, we usually have the same group of people like us, young people from the same universities, same work, and we rarely include the marginalized sectors of our region.
That's very, I think, very amazing work that you guys are doing. I want to move on to our two very young and caliber Rohingya youth leader that is based in Malaysia. First of all, I want to ask Ziaur.
Ziaur Rahman.
Ziaur Rahman. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. I want to know perhaps a bit about your background on how you came to know the event, and how do you think the event would impact the Rohingya community and Rohingya youth?
Okay, I am Ziaur Rahman, and I am one of the Rohingya youth from Rohingya Youth Initiative. So actually I was so pleased to get this kind of training in the ASEAN, and also I have received a lot of idea from the ASEAN digital ASEAN training about the migration and human trafficking. I got a lot of knowledge there, and so which is very useful for my community, because the problem is every time happening in our community about the human trafficking and about the problems which is very urgent in our community. So I was very excited to see my youth members, and also my some of the officers from different kinds of media and different kinds of the organization. I was very happy. For this.
You said you were very happy, and if I'm not mistaken, off air you mentioned that you had been a refugee since you were 40-day old, not even a year. I'm just wondering, this kind of empowerment, either event or workshop or training, is it something that is very rare either, throughout your journey as a refugee, do you ever receive this kind of self-empowerment workshop?
No, it
By anyone?
no, I haven't received. Actually, it was my first training in Malaysia from the ASEAN, and so according to I said to you before, I became refugee when I was 40 days. My family moved to Bangladesh, so I stay in Bangladesh over 20 years as a refugee, which is very difficult to stay in the refugee life. So I faced many problems in the life of refugee, where there was no education, no rights as a human being. So last 2014 August, I was kidnapped to the Thailand, and so I was there almost 2 months in the Thailand UNHCR shelter. So I ran away because of my safety. I helped the Thai government and many organizations and many medias to arrest the human trafficker in the mountain. And so now I in Malaysia, and also when I was in Bangladesh, I work with this kind of organization for my community. I have seen a lot of problems. So now after I got this training, it is very, very essential for my community, and also the essential for the youths in Malaysia.
So it's very essential. And I want to move on to Zaid. Hussin here. You are also one of the Rohingya youth leader with a very colorful background as a refugee. How do you receive the event that day, or the I would say the empowerment workshop? Do you think that it has somehow impact your life? Do you think it's important for Rohingya youth leader or youth in general to receive this kind of empowerment workshop?
Hi, I'm Zaid. Yes, of course it's important because there have been shown a lot of things that you can use. Second.
Yeah. Say it again.
Yes, it's really important for our communities, and it's really useful that use organization we did for youth people in our community. We met a lot of our youth. Before that we never met each other like that. So, and then that organization have been shown a lot of things that we can use, that we can bring our community to the safety.
And what is your history as a refugee, if you can share to the listeners?
Yeah, of course I can share it. Before I born, my grandfather has told one story that my great grandfather have been a refugee. He came from another place. It's also a part of from Myanmar. So my great grandfather came from a part of from Myanmar. So he have been living in, it's like a jungle. So not only my great grandfather, is a lot of people, they came from a part of from Myanmar. So they have been lived together, and then they make like as a village. So, and then my grandfather has born. So they have been make a big village. So, and they start to make like produce people, the brown, as long as they have a lot of children. And then as that my grandfather, when I was born, I have been so that my grandfather has successful in his life. So he got a lot of money, he got a lot of things, like his riches among 10,000 people. But during religion persecution in Myanmar, Buddhists don't like that. He helped to others. So,
And this was in 2012, right?
I'm not sure that. And so they, because of one case, I'm not sure about that case. So they called my grandfather to the government called my grandfather to the office, and then they do a lot of things, like they broken my grandfather's hand. So because of that, he asked he has to run away from Myanmar. Of course, with success in our life, also we can't do anything in Myanmar. Because of that, he has become to Malaysia.
So the whole family now is in Malaysia.
Yeah, before we came, my father have been ran away from Myanmar. He came to Malaysia more than 16 years old. When I was 11 months, he came to Malaysia, but I didn't saw her. Actually, I also want to see him because I never saw. We cannot contact each other. We can't see each other in internet also. So
literally, both of you have been living in Myanmar since you guys were babies.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Anyway, this is towards the end of our first segment. We will continue in the second segment discussing further on the empowerment workshop organized by the ASEAN Young Public Servants. And we will also share more on the state of Rohingya in Myanmar and in Malaysia.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. You're back with me again on DurianAsean, where we discuss on the state of Rohingya in Malaysia and in Myanmar in conjunction with an event, or should I say empowerment workshop that was organized by the ASEAN Young Public Servants. With me are two Rohingya youth leaders as well as the project head of ASEAN Young Public Servants. So welcome back again, Ziaur, Regine and Zaid. So let's talk about the event that it has quite a long name and it ends with Digital ASEAN. Share with me more why you choose the topic of Rohingya and you end it with Digital ASEAN.
Okay, so the title is actually Rohingya in a Digital ASEAN Migration and Youth Welfare. It's a leadership or youth empowerment workshop. So it basically means it's a little bit of everything. We're trying to summarize a little bit of everything that we learned about Rohingya youth in particular. So we had the first part of the program focus more on identity, as leadership workshops usually start with. So there was a speaker about Rohingya that talked about Rohingya as Muslim leaders, for example, like their social responsibility, peace building, etc. And also Rohingya as part of the ASEAN community. So we talked more about cultural similarities and differences in the region. And then the second part, we briefly discussed the social issues that confronted the community around the region. And we had some parallelisms with other struggles such as the Palestinian advocacy, like how they are similar and different and what we can learn from each other. And then finally, on the last day, it was more skills building. So there were specific skills that we tried to impart on these youth leaders, such as Photoshop, social media, project management, that might be useful for them.
Basically, things that you can learn from YouTube. Anyway, it's quite interesting that you are catering all this, I would say like a package of from skills to understanding oneself to talking about issues that matter to their community and themselves. I'm just wondering, I want to put the focus on the two Rohingya youth here. Do you find this very useful to you? Maybe Zaid can start first.
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah, you cannot say no, right? Which aspect of, I guess, the whole training that you find the most useful to you? Sorry. There's animal upstairs. Like rats.
Oh my God.
Because next door is the crab shop, the Pangkor Island. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's food. Oh. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Can delete this. Most useful part. Oh, most, yeah.
Everything is well, but I got only one is most useful for others. Marketing. So as that guy who have been taught how to use the marketing, he showed us a lot of things that.
So it's just to highlight, what session was that when they talk about marketing?
Is how to share something with online. How
Social media marketing.
Yeah, social media marketing.
Ah, okay. So you're more interested on the skill-based part of the workshop.
Yeah.
So why you think social media marketing is useful to you?
Because if we do know that we can, if we don't share our, if we don't share our history to others, how people cannot recognize us that we are Rohingya or we are refugees. People cannot know about us. So it's useful for us to share our story. Maybe the people that we can't do anything, that's why we run away from our country. Maybe we share with people. People can do something for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's useful for us.
It's very interesting when you mentioned about social media marketing. Besides that, I want to ask you. Sorry, I always mispronounce your name. So it's
Ziaur Rahman.
Ziaur. What about you? What do you think of the whole program? Which part of it that you find the most useful to you?
Yeah. Actually, I have learned a lot of things, but my favorite one is about the modern day slavery. So I have learned one of the trainer there. There was Joy Dilla. I have learned the acting, how to do in the campaign, and drama, how to show the community people, which is very useful for my community. So I have done the drama there.
So you like drama?
Yeah, I love drama because my people can notice the drama. They can learn from them. Some of my people cannot read, cannot write, so they can notice from the drama. So I have learned the drama, and I have done the drama on the occasion of the human trafficking. So it was very interesting. I have learned, which is very useful for my life and my community.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned just now about identity and issues. What are the things that you feel that is very important among your community when it comes to having a sense of identity?
Actually, the second day, I have also learned the project planning, and so there were divided two groups, and I was from the one group, and we chose one of the problem, on education and also human trafficking. And so on the education, what we need to do among the youth, what is the responsibility of us to help the community about the education, because we Rohingya are not getting the higher education in Malaysia. So we will mobilize to the community youths in the Malaysia as soon as possible. So we'll come forward to help our community to build a school for our Rohingya, and also to manage all the youths in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm curious how many young Rohingya there is in Malaysia. Oh my god.
Ash, how many?
What?
You're the only one who knows. Ash,
What about it? What?
how many Rohingya youth in Malaysia?
How many?
Youth.
Youth. Okay, I'm not sure exactly. I have the fact actually at home. Right now there are total about adults. I mean, for the whole Rohingya, refugees about 160,000. 95% is from Myanmar, but last time only about 40,000, around 40,000 of Rohingya only. And if I'm not mistaken, 60% of that is youth.
Okay.
20,
Yeah.
30,000.
Yeah, around
30,000. 20,000 lah. Minus babies and kids. Yeah. So, you wanna say that?
Yeah, you say 20,000, around 20,000.
In Malaysia, around 20,000, maybe living in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
So
The reason why I asked about how many Rohingya youth in Malaysia is because I think one of the key issue that were highlighted during the whole discussion was the fact that education is key in changing not just the lives of Rohingya as a whole, but also the future of how Rohingya community can be more I guess in this case, empowered to stand out on their own feet. In this case, I think one of the segment focuses a lot on what can you do as Rohingya youth in order for you to be able to stand on your own feet. I think the session where I was moderating, which focuses a lot on you can get involved in non-profit organization, you can get involved in journalism and also in business. Is that the focus that you guys are also looking at for your own future?
Yeah, actually, you know that also I was in Bangladesh. There was no education. In Thailand also, I did not study in Malaysia. When I arrived in Malaysia, I wanted to study in Langkawi University, but at that time, I did not have the UN card, so I was not allowed to study in Malaysia. So finally, I have been working for my people as long as I can do for them. And first, during the discussion in the ASEAN training, ASEAN digital ASEAN training, so we are 25 youth from Malaysia who are very smart and brilliant. So we will also mobilize some of the Rohingya youth in Malaysia, and then we will do the project plan, what we need to do for the to implement the education in our community, and then we will go to some of the co-founder who will give the project for us, and then we will talk the training and we'll talk the parent session to our community to send them to their children to their school.
So you still emphasize on the importance of education.
Yeah.
But what about you? Like, do you see yourself doing more on the business side or on certain jobs that you see would benefit you better for your future? Since you mentioned you like social media marketing.
Have you thought about it? What you want to work in the future?
Yeah. Yes, I want to study first. I want to finish my degree, whatever I can, until I can reach I can be someone. So just now I'm trying to reach education to our community. A lot of people study. Some of them they do not enough money. Some of them they not enough time to study. So we cannot move forward to help to reach the education to our community. We need like social media too, and like UNHCR, some of the organization we need to reach the education to our community. So actually following by my future, I want to be a doctor, and so when I will be success, I can success in my life. If I have been success in my life, I want to be as a light of the poor people when they are in dark.
So contribute back to community is also one of the key factor in motivating oneself. We will take a short break. When we return, we'll talk about the third segment of the discussion where we focus more on moving forward, what kind of solution that we can do in order for the for the Rohingya to be able to have a better future.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. You're back with me again at DurianAsean. Earlier two segments we discussed with three very bright young ASEAN young leaders. They share about their thoughts and their future in terms of creating a better future for their community and themselves. And of course, they also highlighted education as one of the key factor in moving forward. In this third segment, we will discuss further and deeper on what can we do to move forward, not just in terms of the state of Rohingya youth, but of course the state of refugees, both in Myanmar and in Malaysia. I want to move to our project head here, Ms. Regine, of the ASEAN Young Public Servant. I want to ask you regarding on, I guess, the end goal of the event that you had a couple of days ago. which is trying to create a platform to empower marginalized community, in this case, Rohingya youth leaders. What do you aim for in this case?
Well, concretely, because we only had 2 days due to lack of resources, like, since it's a volunteer-led activity, all the people involved were just volunteers, and then we crowdsourced from around the region. So we only had very little time. And so that's why we actually focused on the digital part. So,
but in terms of like the bigger picture, like what do you foresee? Like how can it help towards like the bigger goal here?
So in terms of the digital part, it was more just to keep the hype going and to young Rohingyas on how they can be part of the mainstream discourse. But in terms of like abstract ways, it's more really empowerment as a start, like to get them thinking about, take a little bit of everything so they can start thinking about how to incorporate all of these together. But hopefully it's just the start of something new. So just like the song, it's something new. Like the speakers were also very pleased since it's the first time that this has been done for Rohingya youth. So the speakers, all of them approached us and probably like more focused. So inshallah there will be a chain of similar events in the future.
Were there any feedback from institution like the United Nations or from the government in terms of how this particular event can actually do something about the stagnant issue that we are facing in Malaysia?
There have been actually. Our venue was sponsored by the International Youth Center, which is under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So at least in terms of the youth part, it seemed like they were receptive because they sponsored our venue. And however, when it comes to institutions, well, there were the usual institutions such as the International Organization of Migration, which supported the event. There were observers from the UNHCR, but that's as far as it went.
I want to move on to our 2 youth leaders here. Moving forward, I think a lot of issues were raised during the issues were either political or were things that could have been done better in terms of the grassroots as well as maybe the host in Malaysia. If you could highlight some of the concerns and challenges that Rohingya youth leaders are facing right now in Malaysia and things that could have been done better, maybe either by the government or by a non-profit organization or by maybe the Rohingya communities themselves. Perhaps you can highlight some of the key facts or key issues.
Actually, I already told you that I was born in Myanmar, but I was only 40 days. But I did not see the situation in Myanmar, what is going to happen. I asked from my mother what was happened. So nowadays they cannot go to the mosques to perform prayers, and also they cannot marry without the permission of the government, and also they cannot go to the university. There is no higher education for the Rohingya in Myanmar also. Everything is impossible for the Rohingya in Myanmar. So I have the history in 4 countries, and Malaysia, Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Thailand, in Malaysia also. So when I was staying in Bangladesh in refugee life, so also everything was impossible for me because there was no education and there was no rights for me also. And beside this, they came only class 5. There is no education up to class 5. Also, class 5 is not recognized by the government of Bangladesh. Only they provided class 5, and also there is no any opportunity for the Rohingya in Bangladesh. So I was kidnapped on August 2014 and shifted to Thailand. I was rescued by the Thai government. Among the total, with 151 people, and I have seen many people. I have seen two people who have died in the boat, and also in the trafficking camp. I have seen three people who have passed away. So it was very sad. My life is very difficult. So, and then I was rescued by the Thai government and taken to the UN shelter, and finally I was very scared to stay in the shelter because I have the way to arrest the human trafficker. So I have seen many things, difficulties in my life, and also I have sold 3 times in Thailand by the police, and then I was forced to enter to Malaysia, and after then I was sold 2 times in Malaysia. So it was very trouble life in my still going on, and after then I ran away again from the human trafficking camp in Malaysia. After then I have seen my people were very difficult situation in Malaysia. So I'm requesting to all the people who are working for my people. I request many people, and also I tried to manage some of the Rohingya youth and to work for the community and what is going on. At least we can voice out for our people. So I am doing many things for my people in Malaysia, but also there is a lot of problem in Malaysia which is not possible for me also, because they cannot study, and also they cannot go to the college, university, and also they cannot sometimes they are assaulted by the people, the other people, and some they don't have documents and they cannot go to the hospital. There is no discount for the refugee, but they say there is discount, but there is no discount. And also there is many problem happening in Malaysia for Rohingya. Even I became refugee 22 years ago, but also there is no opportunity for me. Besides, I am one of the victims of human trafficking, and there is no right for me. But still I have been trying to help my people as soon as I am alive. So I wanted to study in Malaysia, but it is very it became a great burden for me. There is no one to support me to study for
financially or
financially every way. I don't, and also I lost my father when I was 2 years old, and I don't have sibling. Only I have mother in Bangladesh refugee camp, and I got married in 2013, and also my wife came to Malaysia in 2014, but she doesn't know, my mother doesn't know whether I was kidnapped or not. They were unknown about me. So my wife came to the Malaysia to find out me. So I was not contacting with my family almost 5 months once. That's why they were very anxious for me. So
that's a very long story, and also something that is also very personal to a lot of people as well who are refugees. When it comes to you, Zaid, I guess, what does the future hold for you moving forward? Do you think it requires a greater grassroots and also political solution to this, and how are we going to address this to move forward?
We cannot just by ourselves, because it dependent by our sponsor.
The host country.
Yeah, the host country. Not we are a lot of challenges we are facing, like education, travelers, homeless, moneyless, a lot of things in Myanmar and Malaysia. Now we are in Malaysia. Of course, we have to take in about Malaysia. A lot of students came from Myanmar. They didn't get education in Myanmar. They want to study. They want to make their future. That's why they come to Malaysia. But when they came here, they cannot get to. They can get only like a secondary. They cannot get degrees. Difficult for them. If they are working, their parents will be. They can live like happily. If they are not working, they are studying. They cannot get sponsored. They can get a sponsor, but they don't have idea how to find, and then they don't have money how to pay the fees of school or university. So they need to find a sponsor. A lot of people helping also as me, some of people giving me a sponsor. That's why I can study. So now I cannot just my future. I cannot hold it because it's depended by a sponsor. If they stop to give a sponsor, I cannot study.
So at the end of the day, like, your life depends on who could actually sustain you. Yeah. I do want to ask the organizer. I mean, they are sharing such, I guess, story today. The solution is quite obvious. Is it is something that requires external parties working together, and maybe on the political level and policy level. But I also want to bring down to the grassroots level, like what can young Southeast Asian do in order to make the issue less about statistic, but more about like human stories, that we all share a similar issues together or concerns together.
I think it's just simple. Like, we just have to be more personally aware of the different kinds of people around us and the different struggles that they face. For example, here in Malaysia, there are a lot of Rohingyas and other refugees and other migrants who with not very fortunate situations, and elsewhere in the region as well, such as Indonesia and Thailand. And even in the Philippines, where we have our own share of refugees, or not even refugees, but just other sectors such as indigenous people or whatnot, you know. So in our daily encounters, whatever work we are in, or in our own communities, I think like we just have to personally create a welcoming space for the people around us, and be, you know, understanding of other people's situations, not be discriminatory, try to at least lessen the burden of these people.
So in other words, be nice. Just be nice. Anyway, thank you all three of you, Ziaur, Rahman, Regine, Guevera, and also Zaid, Hussin, for coming to the studio and sharing your views and perspective about this very important issue. Thank you.
Welcome.